Alright, so we have a new Lord of the Rings game that is coming out. Do we know exactly when? No. What do we know about it? It's an ambitious project. So it has been announced that there's supposed to be an open world Lord of the Rings game that will be coming out sometime within the next couple of years. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I have definitely felt that we are a bit overdue for a really strong open world Lord of the Rings game. Especially considering that our last couple of games that we have gotten aren't necessarily bad. Well, okay, Gollum is an exception. We're not going to talk about that. But then there's also Tales of the Shire, which has been a bit of a comfy, cozy life sim game, which I've enjoyed from time to time. So I definitely don't want to say that we're lacking for Lord of the Rings games, but we haven't had any good, strong, open world action games since Shadow of War. Now, with a open world action game comes a lot of things that are going to have to go well versus things that are going to have to go wrong. Since Shadow of War was such a massive success, it is going to be very imperative for the studio that they're going to have to at least match this level of quality. Which, since we no longer have access to the Nemesis system, that becomes a little bit more difficult. I mean, come on. In what world do you want to have orcs that won't interact with you like this guy does here?
May have heard of one like me. It prances and dances and sings with glee. Wherever there's strife, the singer is there. He slaughters and slays with such merry flair. I sing this song with all my breath. Take heed, for this interlude ends with your death.
But seriously though, Lord of the Rings has always been a really strong action-based games. From the EA games like Return of the King, to even some of the later games like War in the North, to even now with Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War, there's a ton of inspiration that we can draw off of those games to be able to create a really good Lord of the Rings game. So let's talk about what we need to have happen in order for this to be a successful game. First of all, the characters in the game are going to have to be unique and they're going to be interesting. Whether it's going to be something like the Return of the King game where they are going to be basically just playing through the events of the movie is fine, but that's something that I really don't think is going to show the same level of interest as it did back when the movies were first coming out. So, honestly, I really don't think just a rehashing of those games are going to be the best thing. Plus, this game is set to be open world. Now, when you're looking at an open world Lord of the Rings game, there's a lot that has to go into it. The only open world Lord of the Rings games that we have had, aside from Lord of the Rings Online, are Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War. And while those games open world does have a ton of options for exploration and things that you can do, they were fairly limited due to the fact that the game took place inside the confines of Mordor, and they didn't have the greater expanse of Middle-earth outside of Minas Morgul to be able to explore in. So, when I look at a Lord of the Rings open world game, I'm going to be a little bit skeptical, because the world of Tolkien is absolutely vast. From the gates of Minas Tirith to the dark lands of Mordor, all the way to the lands of the Shire in the west of Middle-earth, there's so much potential for an open world game, but because of that, there's so much that can go horribly wrong. It is imperative that what these developers do with this game pays a full respect to the world that Tolkien has built and the vastness of it. If it were me, I honestly think I would love to see this open world game take place during some time within like the First or the Second Age. We have the lands of Beleriand that get besieged by dragons and Balrogs and orcs, and we have the vast lands of Numenor in the Second Age that have only been seen through Rings of Power, which I personally have loved the way that Numenor has looked, but again, that is me. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole because I know all you Rings of Power haters are going to come at me, and I'm not about that life. Either way, there's a lot that we can talk about. And there's a few things that I really want to see within an open world Tolkien RPG outside of just having the vast world. For me, the dream that I have always had when it came to an open world Lord of the Rings game was a game that basically took the concept of Skyrim but put it into Tolkien's world of Middle-earth. You had your character that you could create, you had your vast classes and characters and races that you could build around and there were skills that you could level up, and if you wanted to, you could just take the concept of the main storyline and throw it all away and just get lost exploring in the world that Skyrim had to offer you. That is where I found that Skyrim had its most beauty, is when you weren't in any rush to try and get through anything, but instead were being a lot more focused on just enjoying what the game had to offer. Whether it was the main storylines, the side quests, the dungeon explorations, the crafting and smithing, all of that kind of stuff was something that made Skyrim beautiful. And for me, to get a successful open world Tolkien RPG, that would be kind of what I would be wanting to see. I would want to be able to hop into a Lord of the Rings world and make it my own, which is something that I really get a lot of in Lord of the Rings Online, and I have another video on that. You can check that out if you want, but you certainly don't have to. And the only thing that I would really want to see improved from Lord of the Rings Online in that aspect is the graphics. The game did come out in 2007, and so the graphics are a little dated. And I really want to see what a modern-day graphics Lord of the Rings game would look like. And don't get me wrong, I think Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War have some of the most incredible graphics out there. I think that they are a absolutely incredible looking game, and I think their graphics even hold up really well to this day. However, like I'd mentioned before, there's a lot of Tolkien's world besides just the area of Mordor, and I think that those games did a really good job at making Mordor interesting. I really think that we could find a better way to make the whole of Middle-earth look incredible versus just one specific region. Now again, one of the things that I would have to be a little bit concerned about is how they're going to be handling things like enemies. Because you're looking at the Nemesis system with Shadow of War being kind of the standard right now for NPCs, but the Nemesis system is completely gone with the closing of Monolith. Rest in peace, you absolute legends. You really want to make sure that the enemies that you create are interesting. Now, you're not going to be able to completely mimic the Nemesis system due to patenting and licensing and all of that kind of stuff that, again, I'm not going to go into because it's not relevant to what we were talking about in this video, but it is going to be something that is going to matter. If you're going to create villains that are going to be interesting, you really have to look at villains like Agendaur in War in the North. He was a lieutenant of Sauron. He had a ton of interest around him. There was a ton of mystery, and there's still a lot of questions about Agendaur that I honestly have that I would love to be able to have seen explored more in War in the North, but again, that's a whole other video for another time. But when you're creating a villain, you want to make sure that there's interest to them, and I don't know if just rehashing Sauron would be a good idea either. Sauron has been a key enemy in Lord of the Rings lore for a long time. But also, there are many other people within Tolkien's universe that were agents of evil that were not just Sauron or Saruman. You know, Saruman being just another fun example where you have him as an antagonist in the Two Towers, and eventually he gets taken down after the Battle of Helm's Deep and the flooding of Isengard. I think it would be really interesting if we were to see a character like the Witch King maybe make an appearance, or maybe if there was some other lieutenant of Sauron that would be really interesting to show up. I think that could make for a very interesting game. Let me know down in the comments below what you want to see from this Lord of the Rings open world game. Are there things that you are expecting? Are there things that you're not expecting? Are you hoping to just kind of fly in blind? I think either way, no matter what your opinion is, I think it's totally valid, especially when it comes to the state of games right now. I can definitely understand being skeptical. I mean, we haven't had a ton of great launches recently, and so I would really like to see this game be something that defies those expectations, but you're never going to know until it happens. Either way, let me know down below. Once again, I do want to give a quick thank you to all my Ko-Fi supporters. You guys are the ones that help to really make this channel possible, so please thank you so much for supporting, and if you would like to consider supporting, please do check out the link down below. Also, I haven't talked about this a lot, and I want to. I have a Discord. You can come hang out, talk Tolkien, talk Call of Duty. There's a lot of things going on in my Discord, but not a lot of people to share it with. So come hang out in the Discord. Let's have some fun. There's a link to the Discord down in the description below. And as always, you are loved, you are valued, you are fearfully and wonderfully made, and we will see you next time. Have a wonderful day, everybody.